Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Robinson Film Center. Welcome to Science on Screen. Thank you so much for your patience as we tried to pack as many people in here as possible. We are super excited, and I know that you are too, because we've sold out and had to turn some people away too, to see Antarctica a year on ice. And I have a hunch that more people are excited about seeing Charles Kirkland speak tonight too. So we're very, very excited to be showing both the film and have Charles as our guest. I'm going to let Charles tell you all about himself, but he is a medic that specializes, and the way that he put it to me is emergencies when you can't call 911. So places where they don't have an ambulance that can come pick you up really quickly. And he spent 8 seasons in Antarctica being a medic there. And that's what he's going to talk to us about today. Before we get started, I want to thank the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation that funds this Science on Screen series, and also in partnership with the Coolidge Theatre in Boston. So there are theaters around the country, 200 of them, that are doing this very same thing that we're doing. We've been doing it all May. This is our last one. So we're, again, very, very excited that you're here. Before we get started and before Charles comes out, we have a special greeting from the director of the film, and it just so happens that Charles is friends with them and has worked with them and has worked with the people in this film too. So I'm going to let the director introduce the film, and then you'll get to hear from Charles. So thanks again for coming, and I hope you all enjoy the show. Takes just a second to switch from one system to the other, so give it just a second and they'll get it running. Guys upstairs, y'all got the video covered?
Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us for this evening.
It's great to see all of you there in Shreveport, Louisiana.
At the Robinson Film Center.
We're so glad that you could join us today, and we're so happy to be here.
I'm Anthony Powell, and
Christine Powell.
so this is a film that we've made over a 10-year period. It's taken a long time to bring it to the screen. A lot of hard work and scratching the head on how to get a lot of the shots you'll see in this film.
A lot of time spent in the cold, in very harsh conditions. Sometimes fingers and toes are going numb as we were trying to capture those shots that you're about to see.
Yeah, there was a lot of inventive work required because no one had ever really filmed in the deep Antarctic winter before, so I was having to come up with camera systems of my own to get a lot of the shots. So yeah, we really hope you enjoy the work we've put into it.
Yeah, and Charles Kirkland, our good friend, we met him several years ago on the ice, and he was the camp manager at Bird Surface Camp, which is a research facility out on the West Antarctic ice sheet. In other words, in the middle of nowhere. And I got to work as the cargo coordinator for that camp, bringing essential supplies, making sure they got on the plane for the scientists and for the base staff. And it was really good to work with Charles, so we called him CK the Third. And I had the pleasure of being able to go out and visit the camp for several days and get to see what life was like out there.
So we'll leave you in Charles's capable hands, and he'll be handling the question and answer session for us at the end of the film. Thanks very much, and hope you enjoy the film.
Bye, thanks.
Okay, so please, please, please give it up for Charles Kirkland.
Can you turn the air down a little bit? Negative 40 would be really good, okay? Oh my gosh, I've never been this hot in this attire in my entire life, okay? We're freezing, we're shivering and everything else, and let me get some of the stuff off of here real quick. Having a bad hair day now. As a matter of fact, Christine is a big knitter. Christine knitted this for me, and she knitted this for me, and she needed this for me. Oh my gosh, wow, amazing. Cool, well thank y'all for showing up. I talked to a buddy of mine in Antarctica this morning, and actually it's nighttime for him, but they're way ahead of us or whatever, and I told him I was going to talk about Antarctica, and he said, where are you doing, like Dallas or San Francisco or Los Angeles? I go, no, Shreveport, Louisiana. He goes, where? So he actually Googled it while I was talking to him. And I go, oh wow, Shreveport. He goes, you won't have 20 people show up. And I really want to take a picture of y'all right now and showing that y'all did turn out for this. This is really great. Cool, so I'm not going to do a striptease in front of y'all, but I am going to slowly be taking this stuff off as we talk. But I'm about to die inside of this stuff right now. Oh, so I wanted to talk a little bit about Antarctica before the movie starts. And Anthony and Christine are dear friends of mine. I met Anthony about 8 years ago. Anthony handled all the electronic stuff and the radio stuff and believe it or not, we had internet at the deep field camps in Antarctica. It was all bounced off satellites and everything else. And we'd get set up in camp, and Anthony would come out and hook us up to the world. And pretty cool, it allowed me to talk to my parents by satellite phone and everything else from, gosh, 8,000, 10,000 miles away. So he was a really great guy, and he's been working on this movie for a long time, 10 years plus. Anthony's been working on this. It did make the first, I think it made the top 50 for Academy Award nomination for the Academy Awards, but he didn't make the final cut. But it's an amazing film, and he actually is able to, people ask me all the time, why do you go to Antarctica? Why would you want to go there, especially in Shreveport? Y'all said it to me. And Anthony's been able to put it in a way that really epitomizes what a lot of us ice people feel. And I don't go back much anymore. I'm not having back in 3 years now, but it's still part of me, and it will always be a part of me. So I don't know, we need like love potion number 9 going on right now. So. Woo! Okay. Anyway, so I want to show a few little slides before we start up here. These jackets are amazing. These boots, I couldn't wear these boots today. These are what we call our bunny boots in Antarctica. These are 5 pounds each. They're amazing. This jacket weighs 10 pounds. So yes, I'm going to get this off here now. Don't worry, I'm not going any further. So it's just a lot of layering we do in Antarctica. So, but anyway, with the Antarctica, we would always fly into McMurdo. The U.S. has 3 bases. One's in McMurdo, one's South Pole Station, and one's Palmer Station, way out here. The United States pretty much dominates Western Antarctica. Nobody owns Antarctica, but it's, sorry, I was just piece of sweat.
Sorry.
My cue was to rub my nose and change slides, but I'm sweating so bad right now. Sorry about that. You did great though, Megan. I really appreciate that. Oh my God. So anyway, so we would normally fly from Los Angeles to Sydney, Australia. Then we fly to Christchurch, New Zealand, and then we got onto military aircraft, the C-17 or Herc LC-130 for some of y'all guys who've been around for a little while. And we fly down to McMurdo, where the U.S. base is. And there's about 1,000 people who actually, U.S. citizens who actually live in McMurdo. And I was normally there for about 2 weeks, and then they would ship me out to, we would set up deep field camps. I would set up either way out at Bird Camp, Western Antarctic Ice Sheet, Hong Island Glacier, Ellsworth Mine Area. Way out here one time at a place called Antarctica's Gamburtha province. We did a rescue down here. The Russians pretty much dominate this part of Antarctica. We had to go do a big rescue for those guys. And then the Chinese have the most remote, highest base in the world now, right here, Dome A, and it's no man's land. I don't know how anybody can live there year-round, but the Chinese are trying to make a big presence there. Nobody owns Antarctica, but everybody kind of shares the science. There's over 30 countries who maintain some sort of base in Antarctica. And I worked for the United States Antarctic Program. Now, this is the cue. There we go. Good. So we're dealing with cold a lot there. And everybody asks me, well, how do you stay warm, you know? And it's not just about putting a bunch of clothes on. You got to deal with the 4 things that cause cold. One is we got to deal with the wind. And y'all kind of know that as wind chill. And down in Antarctica, a calm day is 12-mile-an-hour winds. And I've been in 110-mile-an-hour winds. It's just crazy down there. The other thing is if you're like this guy's thinking really hard, but he's sitting on a cold rock, which means you're loosening your heat through this rock. So we got air to move our heat away from us. We're sitting on this cold rock, which moves heat from us. Then we're always emitting heat from our bodies. We always, so we have to stop that also. And then also we're breathing all the time. Every time you breathe out, you're breathing out moisture and you're breathing out heat. So there's 4 things that we have to factor in Antarctica in terms of keeping warm. And like I said, this is like, I'm missing at least 25 pounds worth of more gear that I would normally be wearing. First, you wear these amazing long underwear that are probably about $200 per pair, okay, Patagonia, which we call Patagucci in Antarctica. So we wear this cool long underwear, and then we have a fleece layer, then we have a wind layer on top of that. And then we have the big stuff, like the big parka. Big red there that I came in on, you'll see that several times in the movie tonight. So that's a $1,000 jacket, and it's all goose down, and this weighs 10 pounds by itself. So between this and these guys, there's 20 pounds, and then the other gear I have is even more so. So you're always walking around like Frankenstein in Antarctica. Like, why am I here? It's so cold, it's crazy. So you get down to Antarctica, and everybody flies, U.S. citizens fly into McMurdo. And one of the first things you do is you go to Happy Camper School. None of these guys are happy, okay? I promise you, okay? A lot of them are scientists. They're wondering, why am I here? This is crazy. I thought I knew cold, but now, you know, one guy's like, I'm from Boston, I know cold. Okay, you need to come to Antarctica to really understand what we talk about when we talk about cold. But yeah, we call these, this is like the March of the Red Penguins. And everybody in Antarctica has Big Red, okay? So you don't ever yell, hey, you in the red jacket, and everybody will turn around. And you see the bunny boots, these are called the bunny boots here, you know, and everything else. So everybody's pretty well decked out with the right kind of gear. And this will handle you down to about -40, -50 degrees. But everybody's got to go through a 3-day Happy Camper School. We show them how to survive in the cold and how to cook your food, how to make an igloo. Yes, we make igloos in Antarctica. They work really, really well. And just all the basics about understanding hypothermia and what it's like to be cold, et cetera, et cetera. When we get out to deep field camp, we go out to deep field camp with carpenters, plumbers, mechanics, engineers, and normally they'll put us in like 2 or 3 of us, me, the medic, and then maybe 1 or 2 others. They leave us there for like a week, and you're like, why am I here? And we set it all up, and then they start bringing in the big Hercs, the big LC-130s. They start dropping off gear and dropping off personnel. These guys are carpenters. This is about a 60-foot long building, and they can have this up in about 3 hours. The fabric that we put on here is about a 1/4 inch thick. We actually put stoves in there that'll bring up the temperature to around 35 degrees, which is really, really hot. But they'll have these set up pretty quickly. We'll set up 8, 9, 10 of these buildings. One will be a galley, one will be a tent for science, 1 tent for the medical tent, which I was in sometimes, and everything else. So, and this is the inside of it. Once we get all the wood floors in, we have doors. It's really funny, in Antarctica, we had an OSHA guy come down to do a safety inspection in Antarctica. You gotta be kidding. I'm the camp manager. He starts going through all this stuff with me about doors have to open to the outside. I go, buddy, in Antarctica, if you open this door up, a lot of times there's a wall of snow there. And believe me, if you try to open the outside, you're not going to get out of there. So it's all the doors open to the inside in Antarctica. But we had cooks. We would bring in 5-star chefs in Antarctica because food's a big morale thing. If everybody's just eating meat and potatoes all the time, morale goes down, really does. I heard this one chef from Boston, Rob, was just amazing. I mean, I was having duck à l'orange, lobster thermidor, you name it, we had it. It was just amazing what we would eat. Y'all probably saw in the paper I was saying we had to consume 6,000 to 8,000 calories per day. That's what I told Rob. I said, Rob, you got to make sure we get 6,000. He goes, what? Everybody wants to cut back. I go, I'm sorry, buddy. We got to consume this kind of Antarctica because your body is working so hard to stay warm that it's burning up calories like you would not believe. And every year I lose 25 to 30 pounds every year when I went to Antarctica. I kept thinking maybe I could come up with some kind of diet plan for $50,000. I guarantee you'll lose 50 pounds, whatever else. Just come to Antarctica. So, we ate pretty well. I mean, John, turkey. This is Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, they put it out for us. No, there's not glamorous candles around, everything else, but believe me, guys, this turkey was gone in no time. The funny thing is also is when you're down there, your body starts craving and knowing it needs more fat. I mean, I know that's kind of voodoo to say this time and age now, but but down there, I mean, we'd have steak, and I'd be cutting off, and normally down here, I'll like cut and leave the fat to the side. Down there, if you don't eat it within 1 second, somebody will grab the fat off your plate. Your body knows it needs to put on another layer to help stay warm. So, and I was always big on the chefs when I was managing the camps to really talk to them about making sure we have varieties of food. Don't you dare do meat and potatoes every day. We got to have variety here. And Rob was just amazing. He was one of my favorites. I had him for 3 years at different field camps, and he would, every time I thought that he'd done it all, he would come up with something else just blew me out of the water. What you notice here, though, there's no fiber, okay? Deep field Antarctica, basically everything we got was frozen, so we didn't see a lot of freshies for about 6 months. So the interesting thing was when we got back to Christchurch or Sydney, Australia, we had to slowly reintroduce fiber into our system, okay? We're not going to go any further than that, but you did not start gorging on apples and fruit and stuff, okay? But you had seen them for 5 months or so. Every night, your only privacy in Antarctica is your personal tent and your personal sleeping bag. Otherwise, you're around people for 18 hours a day. There's no privacy, there's no private space. These are different tents we have. These are made by North Face. This is a Scott tent, which is actually one of the most infamous tents in Antarctica because it's been around for about 100 years. They're amazing. You can stand up in these tents. These tents here, you have to be laying down while you're changing clothes and everything else. These tents here, you can actually stand up in, but there's more air to try to keep warm, which is actually a little tougher with those. So you have to trade off a little bit. Everybody asks me, what's the hardest part about Antarctica? And I always tell them, it's getting out of my sleeping bag in the morning. I'm serious, there's literally 100 to 120 degrees difference between inside your sleeping bag and outside of it. I mean, I would think we've made these amazing bags. They're made by a group called Feathered Friends out of Seattle, Washington. These are $1,500 sleeping bags. They're negative 80-degree bags. When nobody's in them, they sit this high. It's got goose down. They're all goose down. And it is the most wonderful feeling being inside these sleeping bags. And you hear the wind 80 miles an hour. I'm like, I'm all toasty, life's good. And then my alarm goes off and I watch it going, oh, I gotta get up. And I stick my little finger at the little hole and like little needles are going through it because it's like literally it'll be negative 50, negative 60 degrees outside my sleeping bag. So yes, you don't just pop up and run outside. It takes about 10 minutes to get ready. You can see some of the gear we wear. I was the medic in several of my camps, and this is actually Christmas morning, 2007, I think 2007. And it was warm. It was like negative 28, negative 30, somewhere in there. It involved me. Yes, these are fleece lined jeans. Okay, these are not regular Levi's. Okay, I've got my Uggs on. Back in Antarctica, we don't wear Uggs for fashion. Okay, we were wearing these long before they were fashionable. These are the warmest boots in the world. They're amazing how warm they are for casual stuff. I've got like 3 layers under all this stuff here. As a matter of fact, right after this, I actually called my parents to say Merry Christmas after this. So, this is a good view of this was a bird camp, 2008, and I was managing this camp, and this is a typical day a lot of times. The sun does this all day long. We never have darkness from October through February in Antarctica. Yes, people say, did you sleep well? No, I can't really say I slept that great. And it's like you wake up and it's bright sun and everything else. It's just the way it goes. But from April through August, they don't see the sun for 5 months. Total darkness. So I've never done winter down there. I've always done from October through February. But yeah, pretty awesome. This is about a half to 3/4 miles away from camp, and pretty much you can describe Antarctica as a snow desert. That's pretty much the best way to describe it. And then there were bad days. This was a primitive put-in we did with 3 of us. And this is me trying to, we had a tape, we're trying to measure off where we can put certain buildings. And literally, it was frozen, I was frustrated, Mike wasn't helping at all, and Bill was like taking pictures. I'm like, get over here! He's like, what? Whenever you see flags, now these flags are all, we put them straight up. When you ever see a flag at an angle, and they're straight up like this, you're looking at 35 to 40 mile an hour winds. And there's probably 5 days every season, I'm like, what was I thinking? And I did this for 8 seasons, and I had many of these moments going, I just want to go home, I want to go to Shreveport, I'm just tired of this stuff, this is miserable. But then you'd have nice days like you did before. As a camp manager, you had to deal with a bunch of stuff, a lot of personal issues, dickering, people said they were cold. Wow, well, you're in Antarctica, you know, gee, go figure, you know? And so sometimes I would get on my snowmobile and I would say, guys, I'm checking out. Charles, you can't leave us. Yes, I'm leaving you. I'm going to go nuts here. I'm going to take a hostage here in a minute. You know, I have a big international situation here. So I get on my snowmobile and I would drive about a mile from camp. And literally, guys, it is the most, I've never had this, it's surreal. I've never had a feeling like this in my entire life. You're out in the middle of nowhere, standing where no man's ever stood before, in any direction other than 1 mile from camp, which is like hell right now, excuse my French. 500 miles in any direction, there's nothing. And it's all you hear is the crunch of your boots on this really, the snow in Antarctica is like sugar. You cannot make a snowball in Antarctica because the snow is so dry. The relative humidity is around 2 to 8%. So, but you're crunching around and it's just crunch, 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 and there's nothing, no sound and nothing. Sometimes there's some wind, and it's just amazing. And literally, I ran my snowmobile up, and I came back and stopped and looked back, and basically this was the direction of Shreveport. And I'm serious, and I actually stopped and I went, wow, I wonder what they're doing at home now. And I had many moments like that, but these were my most memorable moments in Antarctica. We had a lot of cool rescues down there, bad rescues, whatever you want to call them. But this was one of my most memorable moments when I'd be out in the middle of nowhere, and nobody's around, nobody's bugging me, and I was able to hear myself think about what y'all were doing back here in Shreveport.
Well, I know before we say goodbye to Charles, I know that there's some of you that probably have questions in the audience, and we have just time to take just a few before the movie starts. But does anyone have a question for Charles? Yes, we'll start there.
What got you interested in becoming a medic or responder down in Antarctica?
It's a really interesting story, and they hinted on a little bit in the article, but a buddy of mine had been down there for years. His name was Mike, and he was invited me to come down and go, guys, I'm working at Mount Rainier National Park. I'm a park medic. I don't need to go anywhere else. And so anyway, Mike's a big practical joker and everything else. And Mike, anyway, I think July of 2004, I got a phone call from somebody saying they were with the United States Antarctic Program. They said, would you like to go to Antarctica? I hung up on him because I thought it was Mike playing a joke on me. Thank God she called back. And I said, no, I'm serious. We want you to be a medic. We know you're an extreme medic at Mount Rainier National Park, and we would like you to come down and be a deep field medic in Antarctica. And at the time, I was thinking this would be really cool, my resume. You know, wow, you know, all my buddies have been medics in Vegas and Los Angeles and everything else. I go, well, I was a medic in Antarctica. None of them could talk me on that. And 1 year became 2, 2 years became 3. My poor mother every year is like, "Are you going to go again?" I go, "Yeah." She's like, "Why? Why are you going back?" So, but it was just a fluke, and ice gets in your veins. I cannot explain it. It just something happens, and the people down there, and some of the surreal experiences you have down there keep bringing you back. And I did 8 seasons down there. But I think I'm pretty well done. I may go back this October and do a Antarctica Wilderness First Responder course, maybe 3 weeks. And none of this 4 or 5 months. I'm too old for 4 or 5 months now. I can't handle anymore.
Okay, we had another one right here, yeah.
For the Martian Bee show, anticipated causing difficulties with it.
You know, that's the thing about it, and I'm really glad we're not making this a political thing. Believe it or not, over drinks, I've had many debates over Antarctica and why it's melting, et cetera, et cetera. Antarctica on the interior, from what all scientists tell me, and our job was to support science. Lockheed Martin and Raytheon hired us to go in there and do all the logistical work and set it up so scientists, when they showed up, they didn't have to worry about food, anything other than doing their science. And most of the science that the U.S. is doing is based on climate change. And really it's more about Antarctica. Is it melting? Right? And Antarctica, around the edges, around the coastal area, Antarctica is melting. The interior, though, is interesting, is colder than ever. My buddy I was talking to this morning about this bet about how many people will be here, it was -90 this morning. Okay, they'll hit -125 in about a month, and that's ambient, guys. You don't want to know what the wind chill is at -125. Okay, nobody tells us wind chill in Antarctica. They always talk about ambient temperatures. So there's a lot of debate about that right now, and I guess the jury's still out what's really going to happen with it. But the outer edges of Antarctica, places I've been to before, are not there anymore because they're breaking off. And some of these icebergs the size of Rhode Island, they're huge. China's working on ways to tow those, because you're talking about billions of gallons of water. And this is pretty amazing water, glacial water, and then somehow hauling it back to their country. So that's why they have the big presence there up in the northeast corner.
Yes, this young man here has a question.
Sure.
What's the ratio of men and women?
For every 10 people hired, 3 were women. Okay. And we're not really sure why that is, but there's something, and Anthony refers to this in the movie, is, you know, we always say, well, you know, the odds are good, but the women always say, well, the goods are odd. So, yes. Really fast. For guys, a little easier, and Anthony referred to this a little bit. We always had 2 bottles with us. One's our water bottle and one's our pee bottle. And don't ever mix those up. It's very important, okay? We built these little, we call them the obelisks. They look like Space Odyssey, the black obelisks. They're little outhouses. We actually melt the hole in the snow about 100 feet. And then we put a little toilet seat over it, put a little black house on top of it, and the black actually absorbs heat, so it's this much warmer in there. Believe me, nobody walks into the outhouses with a magazine, okay? You want to get in there, get out of there really fast, okay? And I won't go too much detail, but we call it the cold air bidet. Okay, so it's pretty interesting, but yeah, it's always something you're thinking about. And part with that is also with the cold, there's a thing called cold diuresis. Your body is trying to get rid of extra fluids, because if my bladder's full of fluid, it's trying to keep that fluid at 98.6 degrees. If it gets rid of that, actually my body can actually be more efficient. So you're peeing a lot in Antarctica. So, and then we're getting dehydrated, so we're always trying to slam water. I would, beyond what I had at breakfast and lunch and dinner every day, I would have another gallon of water, extra 4 plus, and then extra in beyond what I had for coffee, orange juice, and everything else with every meal. So you're constantly saving water and you're constantly peeing. It's just part of what happens in Antarctica. So it's not time to be shy. Yeah.
We have one here in the middle.
Sure.
Yes.
What's the craziest creature you run into down there?
Oh my God, my 2 times. My favorite little animal down there is the little Adelie Penguins. They're about this tall. They don't have quite the stature that the big old, the emperors can be about 48 inches tall. And a lot of times I was sent to go out with them as the medic to go with this research team to go research the penguins. The Adelies, we're not allowed to approach wildlife unless you're a scientist, and then you can stick them in needles, all sorts of neat stuff. But anyway, we would just sit there, and they don't see you as a threat. We're not a natural predator. They'll actually come up to you. We're not allowed to feed them, anything like that. But the Adelies were amazing. You'll see a few pictures of the Adelies tonight. The most surprising, there were two moments. There was one where one of the bunch of Norwegians needed a medic to go with them on this little Zodiac. Zodiac's an inflatable boat with a motor on the back of it. And we're out in the ocean, and they're trying to watch this pod of orcas. And anyway, and also we see this little penguin who's running from the orcas. He's doing a great job, and they're trying to surround him. They're very strategic, what killer whales are. Anyway, next thing we know, this little penguin jumps in our Zodiac with us. He's all out of breath. And the orcas are like circling us, knowing that the penguin's in there with y'all, And part of me's like, throw him out, to hug him, And I can't understand a word the Norwegians are saying. They're like, I can't even pronounce what they were saying, and they were like all excited about it. And the orcas kept, it's called periscoping. The orcas will come up, they'll look around, they'll sink back down. They knew the penguin was in there with us. And the penguin was so funny, he kept looking at us. Going, I really want to be here, but then he looked at the water and goes, no, I don't want to be there either. So he stayed with us for like 30 minutes. And you see his little chest going, but that was probably my most surprising moment. Other than helping some divers out, and they needed a medic to be in the dive hut, and you're sitting there waiting for the divers to come back up from 29-degree water, all of a sudden a leopard seal pops up. Oh my God! Y'all didn't tell me that was going to come out. You said we'll be up in a little while, Charles. And leopard seals are probably what the divers down there fear the most, because leopard seals do mistake the Antarctic divers as seals, and they will drag them down. So they're very, very careful of the leopard seals down there. They're very, very aggressive.
I think we have time for just one more, and then we're going to get the movie started. But
Are there permanent underground facilities down there?
At South Pole Station there are. South Pole Station is the most extreme station before the Chinese station came up. And there's tunnels, hundreds and hundreds of yards of tunnels. And I've been down them a few times, and it was like something out of the 1950s movie, The Thing. And you get things, some things go pop out at you. It's very creepy and eerie down there. But the other stations do not have the end of the tunnels, but the South Pole Station does. Yep.
Well, Charles, I am pretty confident in saying that I am not ever going to make it to Antarctica. So thank you so much for being here with us tonight to give us a little taste of what it's like, and for helping us to get this movie here. It's been a delight, and we've learned a lot and had fun too. But please show your thanks to Charles for coming today. After the movie, we can head out to the lobby, and Charles will be there to meet those of you that have more questions that you didn't get to ask. But we will have to clear out of the theater so the next showing can happen. But thank you again so much for coming. Thank you, Charles, especially for being here. And I hope you all enjoy the show and come back and see us again soon. Thanks.